information and tips that you need to become a successful entrepreneur and become financially free. Remember, don't let life dictate to you. Rather, put your signature on life.
Get ready for this.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon. This is Bebe Means Business Show, your weekly business show on everything and anything to do with business and entrepreneurship. As you know, we like to be able to give you tips and advice, knowledge and expertise on anything and everything in relation to business, with the aim to ensure that you become a wealth creator and in the long term become financially free and create wealth for generations to come. Okay, so I'm your girl, Bebe Clement. I'm the host of the Bebe Means Business Show, and I'm here every week, as you know, to give you all the help that I can in your entrepreneurial journey. And so I want to thank everybody, first of all, who tuned in last week and indeed the week before when I was speaking about the mindset of an entrepreneur, the mindset of an entrepreneur. Because if you don't have the right kind of mindset, it's almost impossible to do well in business. Particularly if you're coming from a workspace, if you're coming from being an employee, you cannot take an employee mentality into an entrepreneurship space and expect to do well. It doesn't work. So you do have to have a change of mindset if you're going to do well. So thank you to everybody who tuned into that. And the feedback in relation to that was really good. Today, I have something slightly different for you. Now, those of us who are living in the UK, we know that the cost of living has gone through the roof. It's totally gone through the roof. I was looking at the CPI. The current CPI is the figures for September is 8.8%. 8.8%, which is just slightly down or slightly above that which we had in August, which was 9.9, and 9.9 is the highest we've had in the last 40 years in the UK. So the CPI is not looking good at the moment. Also, energy prices, as we know, they continue to rise. There's no end in sight, apparently, for the war in Ukraine at the moment. Food is more expensive than ever. Banks are running scared. And we are being warned now by economists that we are on the verge of what is looking to be the longest recession that we're going to have on record. So it's not happy days at the moment. It really isn't happy days at the moment. So the astute amongst you, the astute entrepreneurs amongst you will understand that a time has come in which to cast your net further and further afield. You can no longer just stay in the UK pool as an entrepreneur with the way things are going. And it's time to look further afield. And ladies and gentlemen, may I humbly suggest that if you're looking further afield, you don't need to look any further than Africa. Africa is where it's at. Cinderella is finally going to the ball. And as far as I'm concerned, the opportunities in Africa are phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. Now, a word here, I've got to say this, particularly if you've never done business in Africa, or you've never been to Africa, or you don't really know what to believe about Africa. Can I say this, and I say this with caution, but it is true, that don't buy into the hype of the Western press, because the Western press seem to be committed to telling a single story about Africa. You know what I mean. We still see the adverts with children with malnourished pot bellies, with flies hovering all around them. That is what is still promoted here in the West. But having said, I'm not saying that those things don't exist, but if it's just a single story that you believe about a particular place, then you would not expect that homelessness and hunger would exist in the West, because the picture we get is one of prosperity and all that. But as we well know, the UK is currently seeing its highest number of middle class who are now dependent on food banks for their sustenance. This is phenomenal. We've never seen this before. So the point I'm trying to make is, don't just buy into the hype. Find out for yourself, and don't rule out Africa based on what you see on TV, because believe me, Africa's got it going on. They're open for business. There are lots of fields, lots of areas in which you can go into in Africa. Just some of the things that you might want to consider or that you might not have considered before. Now, for instance, only 2% of Africans own a credit card. Only 2%. So if you're thinking about going into the digital market, Africa is ripe. Look at the gaming market. Gaming is a $2.68 billion industry in Africa, and it's looking to have a growth of 10% year on year to at least 2026. The gaming industry in Africa is scaling 5% quicker than global growth. So if it's the gaming industry that you're interested in, Africa is your place to be. And that's just a couple of things. And then when you think about things like labor is cheap in Africa. There is a young population, and this young population are increasingly clued up on global trends. Now African-based companies are understanding that they can do business Africa-wide. They don't have to stay in their own jurisdiction. They can do this Africa-wide. So there's a lot more collaboration going on. A lot more governments are putting a lot more in place to make it easier for companies to do business Africa-wide. So the sky is indeed the limit. But hold your horses before you rush in. Don't rush in without doing your market research or your homework. Because unlike in the West, and I got to hand it to the West, in the West you have safety nets for practically every area of your life. If you lose your job, you can get state benefit. If your business goes kaput, there are things that the government can do to help you. In Africa, the story is not so. So if you get your fingers burned in Africa badly enough, you may never recover. So just don't go gung-ho into Africa without doing your market research. So today I thought I'd help you. Those of you who are planning to move into Africa or considering it, I thought I'd help you by doing a show titled Doing Business in Africa, The Time Is Now. So that's what the title of today's show is. Doing Business in Africa, The Time Is Now. And to help me and all those of you who are interested in doing that, I've invited two very special guests along to come and speak with you and share their experience about doing business in Africa. They're both doing very well, and they just want to share their experience with you so that you can learn from them. They say that success leaves clues. So let's discover the clues that they're going to leave for us today, so that you don't have to make any mistakes that they might have made. You can avoid all that and make the best out of your opportunities in Africa. So it gives me great pleasure to welcome to the show two people. My first guest is Tunde Oguride, who is the Managing Director, CEO of Just Food Africa, and Oscar Diamonde, who is the MD of Purchase Money, also in Africa. Gentlemen, you are very welcome to the show.
Hi, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Hi, Oscar.
Hi, thank you.
Okay. All right. Okay, so we're going to just talk a little bit about your experience. First of all, let's start with today. Why did you decide to go back?
I guess mine was twofold. So I left Nigeria in 1992 for our masters, and then back then there was quite a lot of immigration out of the continent generally, but Nigeria particularly. And my folks were getting older by the time I came back. They already had a business, a school business. I wanted to do something to support that. But most importantly, I came home in that period from 1992 to 2009. I came home every 2 years. And it was quite obvious that, the more I came back, the more there were quite a lot of foreigners that were filling the planes and coming back with me. So that graduates, I thought, you know what? These folks typically don't go to places where there are not opportunities. So what am I doing sitting in Europe for those years? So and my industry was beginning to pick up, and I definitely knew I could add value to the quick service restaurant industry, which is really my background. So coming back to support the family business was one, and secondly, my industry was starting to come of age back in West Africa, and I came back as a result of that.
Okay. Now, it's interesting that you'd say that. I have the same experience whenever I go to Africa. I'd say about a good 60%, if not more, of the people in the plane with me are from the West. They're Caucasian, or they're from the West. So just like you said, they're not stupid. So there's a reason why they're going there. And I say this for those of us who own Africa, but are seemingly afraid to go and do anything there. While you are afraid, others are taking opportunity of your absence and filling the gaps that you should fill. Oscar, what's your story?
Right, thank you. For me, first of all, I have to say when I first left Africa to go to Europe, I went straight to the UK. It's not like I planned never to come back, but in the back of my head, it was like, I don't know if I will come back. Because for me, I mean, all the opportunities, everything going on, everyone around us was, they have to go, in the West. So I stayed there altogether for over 20 years and a bit more. But each time I was coming back on holiday or something, I mean, there are some opportunities that you see and you ask yourself, how come the people here don't see this? How come, for you, it's just obvious that, look, you can make money out of it instead of, staying there and being hungry and all that. So the more I kept coming, it was like, no, we need to do something. Over there, in the West, we've gone there, true, but it's not our, we have the nationalities and everything, but it's not our place. We can do something about our own place. And my uncle once said something that I think he is right. He said, if you empty Africa of all the Africans, take them to the West, and you take the Westerners, the European, and bring them to Africa, we will still immigrate here and get visa to come back to the land that used to belong to us.
Wow.
Yeah. He said that, and and it looks like, I think he's right though. He's right, because they are coming here. They are actually, like Tony was saying, and you were saying, you get on the plane to come on holiday, 60%, if not more, are Caucasian. Yeah. And in those 60%, maybe you only have 10% that are coming for holidays. So they actually they live here, they're doing business here, they went on holiday or they went somewhere, and they're coming back. They feel home, and they are successful. You look at them; it's rare that you will see any of them being in a very pitiful situation in Africa. But we have everything here. So there's something that we need to do. We just need to find the right way to do it, if I can say so. We just need to find, there's a lot of opportunities. Just find, do your market research, and I think we'll be good.
Good. Okay. Now, Tunde, you're in Nigeria. Oscar, where are you?
In Ivory Coast.
Okay, you're in Ivory Coast. Okay, guys. So just so that you are aware, they're in different parts of Africa, so their experiences will be slightly different. But I just thought that would be good to give you a more rounded view of Africa. So we've started with the call, so to speak, to go home and do something. It's interesting what you said, Oscar, that you go home and you see what others perceive as problems. You see the opportunities, and I think that's one of the advantages that those of us who have lived in the West have. We see through different eyes. That's the bottom line. We see through different eyes. We see as things could be, as opposed to how they are. But I think as entrepreneurs, that is what entrepreneurs do. They see opportunities in problems. That is your job, to provide solutions and to meet needs. As an entrepreneur, that is your job. So if you're looking to do that, then Africa is a good place for you to be. All right, now I want to talk about the transition a little bit. I want to talk about the transition. Now, you've spoken about how you guys were both coming and going a little bit, and then each time you went, you kind of left a little bit of you behind until finally you ended up there. But I want to talk a little bit about the transition, because family is very, very important. For those of you who listen to this program regularly, you know that my mantra is always God first, then family, then business. And I think family is very, very important. And sometimes we hear, particularly from women in the West, we hear horror stories of our husbands just woke up one day. I don't know if it's a midlife crisis thing. Our husbands just woke up one day and decided Africa is calling, and they got to go. and you're bewildered and thinking, what the heck is going on? And you're hesitant about uprooting the kids, and you're like, so I got to leave my job so that you can fulfill your dream. There's all that going on. And I do think that that's important that we deal with, so that people are aware, because we've had some horrible stories where, there's marital breakdown because of one partner went back home, and it's usually the guy, went back home and went to fulfill his dream. But how was the transition for you and your family? Were your spouses, you're both married, so were your spouses and your kids, were they as enthusiastic as you were? Tunde, let's go with you.
I think most people will guess the answer to that. Definitely the answer was no. And I guess in my own case, maybe slightly more challenging somewhat, because my wife is British Indian. So that complicated things a little bit, not because she wasn't used to coming to the country, we came every 2 years, happy to come, but coming to visit and coming to live, two different ball games. So when I'd taken that decision, it was quite challenging. But again, every relationship is different. I have a very supportive wife who saw what I saw somewhat, difficult as it was, and it's all about change. But also, there were some caveats. What's that saying? You don't test the depth of water with both feet. Whilst in my own case, it was, lock, stock, and barrel with the family and the kids. I had a solid support structure back home. Like I said, my dad had a business already that was a little bit thriving, challenging but thriving. I also had built up a good network, and I'll strongly advise people. Don't cut away your ties. And I think that coming back, I had a lot of support. The estate that I moved into, a friend of mine was able to get me, it's one of the best estates in Nigeria. It's just 24 hours power goes, maybe in another minute or two, we'll be back on. So there's some things that you will not know, that just those around you will make it a little bit easier, not easy, for you to kind of come back and support and survive. But if you're coming in just without knowing anything or knowing anybody, I can guarantee you it's a recipe for failure. So that local support is absolutely critical. In my case, the whole family came. Was it easy? Of course not. It was a complete culture change. But again, with the family around and the support structure, we got through it. It's 14 years. And if you ask myself and my missus, if we want to swap and go back, the answer is no, 100%. So, and that's because things have worked out because of the support structure.
Okay, now that's really important. I think that's a really valid point. You said don't burn your bridges, and I guess you're referring to those in Africa. So you know how sometimes we go to the UK and that's the end of it. They never get another phone call from you. It will be very difficult for you to relocate if you do that. So I think that's really good advice. And the support structure. No man is an island, and you don't exist in a vacuum. And there are the people who live there, they know things about the terrain that you don't know. And it's the things that you don't know that get you into trouble. So it's so important, like Tunde said, to have that support structure. He was fortunate, like you said, his dad already had a business. Some people would actually advise, don't come and start a business immediately. It might be an idea for you to come with employment, start with employment, and then graduate from there. And I know that's what you did.
Yeah, I wanted to just chip in on that. Sorry to cut you. So, when I say I came back, I didn't come into my dad's business. I came in specifically for a project, for a quick service restaurant. That gave me the transition, reconnect back with friends, rather than come in with, wads of cash to try and start one business. It works for some people. It just wouldn't have worked for me. I know that. So it eased me in getting that initial employment, which I was in for a good 4.5 years before I kind of broke off and did my own stuff. So that transition was absolutely critical as well. Yeah, thanks for pointing that out as well.
Oscar, what's your take on that?
Well, the transition it's quite key, and coming back, I mean, it needs to be something that you've planned, you've thought about it, and you need. I mean, it's important to have your family, wife and kids involved. For me, my wife was born in Europe. She grew up there. All my kids were born in Europe. And the oldest is 24, the youngest is 10, even the oldest they've been to Africa, I mean to this country particularly, maybe twice before. But it was with time. Every year we planned something, every year we had to go on holiday in a different country. And we made sure every 2 years, every 3 years, one of those vacations will have to be somewhere in Africa. So that we get to, it used to be 5 years, but then we said, let's try every 2 years. We never know because we have parents here. So, but when it came to relocating, I actually, a few years ago, I worked in biology. I was going every 3 weeks. Every 3 weeks, I would go for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and come back. I'll go for 2 to 3 weeks, come back, spend 3 weeks, go back again. Because one of the difficult things is when you're not there. Really, I would say don't really try. You have to be present. That's one thing. Unless you have people that you can trust, and that's one difficult thing to have. People that you trust 100%. So I did that in Kenya. We handed over the business, then I came back to the UK, and then started thinking now of coming back here in Ivory Coast. I'm originally from this place, but you cannot just do that without the support of your partner. So we're praying, and then she actually had that feeling as well, because about less than 10 years ago when we came, he was like, nah, I'm not going there. I mean, it was a no. It was a no. But now here we are. And one thing that we did, particularly for the kids, because that's a completely strange area for them, was to make sure they are in a British school with the British curriculum and everything. Another thing that we did, all the furnitures we had in London, we put everything on the boat to come. So when you come here, there's a brother that came from London, and everything is just like we decorated exactly like the same. Yeah, the same furniture, the same TV, we brought everything. So when we home, they feel like, I mean, we still in. Yeah. So we still created that environment, but for business, you have, like Tunde was saying, you need to have the right connection. You need to have people. You cannot just come by yourself and start something. It will be difficult, because the fact that we've been on the other side for so long, the same way we see opportunities where they don't see opportunities, there's a lot of things that we don't understand that they understand, and it become a blockage for us, because we don't understand the system at all. We don't understand how to go about things, and they do. So it's important to have those people that you can trust, those people that can guide you through, I would say, the system. Yeah,
so true. So true. What you said about about furnishing your house the same way as it was in the UK, that was interesting, because I remember when I was young, my parents, I was born here, but my parents came to study here, and it was never their plan to stay, as indeed, many of our parents that came at that time, they just wanted to study and then go back home. And so when I was 10, they decided they were going to go home, and I'd never been to Nigeria. I couldn't speak the language. I'd never had the food, that kind of thing. It was such a traumatic experience for me, so traumatic. It took me years, if indeed I ever really acclimatized, but it took me years. And I think sometimes parents, especially African parents, don't fully understand how traumatic that change can be. So that softly approach of them going home every 2 years is, I think that's perfect. That's perfect. And then just the familiarity of the decor in the home also, just gives them that security, which I think is very important. So well done, you guys. Okay, I'm going to take a very quick break now. And then when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about the kind of industries that you guys are in and how you decided to go into those industries. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you're enjoying the show. As you know, this is a live show, so get in touch and if you have any questions for Tunde or Oscar, they are more than happy to answer your questions. You can hook us up on Facebook. You can just put your questions in the chat. Our Twitter handle is @StarRadioUK, or you can text or WhatsApp us on 07539 661 744. That number again, 07539 661 744, and we will be more than happy to answer any questions that you have. Don't go away.
Hi everyone, it's your girl Bebe Clement, the author of How to Go From Employee to Entrepreneur, and the host of your weekly business show, Bebe Means Business, the show where we discuss everything you ever wanted to know about business but you were afraid to ask. How do I start my business? How do I raise the finance? How do I grow my business? Where am I going to find my customers? Join me every Tuesday at 1:30 p.m. on Star Radio UK to get all the information and tips that you need to become a successful entrepreneur and become financially free. Remember, don't let life dictate to you. Rather, put your signature on life.
Get ready for this.
Okay, guys, welcome back. It's your girl, Bebe Clement, and you are tuned into the Bebe Means Business Show, the show where you come and get all your advice, tips, and expertise in relation to business and entrepreneurship. And today we are talking about doing business in Africa. The time is now. The time is now. Don't delay. Africa is open for business. And to talk us through the whole experience of it, I have two guests on the show. If you're joining us for the first time, I've got Tunde Ogorinde on the show and Oscar Diamond as well. And they have made the transition to Africa, and they are talking us through their experience so that you can have the information at hand and know what to expect if you decide to take that plunge. Okay, guys, so first I want to talk a little bit about the industries that you are in, or the industries that you went into. How did you decide what industry to go into? Is it something that you were passionate about already, or you just got there and you thought, well, there seems to be an opening here, there's an opportunity here, let me go into it? Starting with you today.
Okay, I think for myself, it's an industry I've always been in. I'd worked with Burger King for over 20-something years across Europe, and I saw that there was, opportunities to optimize processes locally for the similar businesses that were starting to come up in Nigeria particularly. So I pretty much transitioned from what I was doing and brought, I guess, what good looks like, best practice into the industry here locally, and did that for a local brand for 4 or 5 years, and then set up my own consulting company, helping other companies set up locally, but also international brands who wanted to come into Nigeria. And we ended up opening an office in Ivory Coast, so on El Plateau. We're in Dakar and also in Ghana, as with physical offices there. So mine is pretty much in the hospitality business that I've always been, and I've just continued in that same industry back here, which has been easier for me, somewhat.
Okay. Oscar?
Yes, for me, I was more in the distribution, but mainly for the molecular biology. We set up labs, forensic labs, and medical labs in a few countries. I worked with a company that's based in the UK for DNA analysis, sequencing, and all those things. And I mean, coming to Africa, you see that, well, I have to say it, Africa is the lab that the Westerners use. What I'm saying is, they take the samples, they do the analysis, but the result is never left here. In most cases, they take the samples, they go. If you're too lucky, they'll do the DNA extraction. Lucky enough, they do the sequencing, but then you don't have the analysis and the result. Those medications that is being made, I mean, most of them, it's what we have here in Africa, natural plants, natural herbs. Because they produce in industrial quantities, they will just duplicate the molecules, make it synthetic, and they reproduce it and they come and sell. We have it here in Africa. So they have the technology. So why can't we, as we are over there and know the technology, can't we come here, tell our people, hey, you can do this, you can get this machine, you can do this, and then we can develop our country so that the result. I was explaining to someone, how do they know that there's mutation in the COVID virus? Because they've taken enough samples and analyzed it, and they know that, oh, from this date to this date, the sequences have changed. So that's how they know there's mutation. When they take our samples here in Africa, and for example, in Ivory Coast, it's only Institut Pasteur that can do the analysis. Okay, they take the samples, that's it, you have your result, you're negative or positive, they take you to hospital, but when you're negative, for you, that's it. But the sample that they've given, what did they do with it? There's more behind it. So I was really like, we need to do this. I actually traveled to Nigeria for this, and I was really passionate about making this development for Africa, personalized medicine and all this. So I was campaigning, traveled in few countries. I tried here, and I mean with HIV as well. Well, there's a lot of opportunities. Unfortunately, my country is not at the level of even thinking of that such of labs. The samples are still taken. I mean, unfortunately, Nigeria is quite advanced to that. Kenya is well ahead compared to what we have here in West Africa. So I'm taking that steps, talking to the right people until they do understand and do something about it, which would be great. Starting here, my sister is in construction, building and construction. So I started to learn the tricks, how it works, how those things are. The good thing is that, like my wife would say, I can learn anything. So I've learned that, and I'm now into building and construction, getting to know the ins and out, and how to get the market, how to start the whole process. We've just finished building 11 schools, colleges, high schools. We have started another big project. There are quite a few projects now that are coming, because one of my passions, like Bebe as well, is to connect people. So you have this and this person has that. It's interesting to put those two people in contact so that, we can develop each person, each company, but develop Africa, develop, what we can do. So I started with building construction, and there's another big thing that I really liked. For example, in the UK, I had an account with one of those neobanks, and in West Africa, you have this mobile wallet and all this. So here, the opportunity was there, making American payment digital. You go outside of the main town, and it's difficult to make payment. No change. There's no this. So we've created, with the partners that we've developed a mobile application for digital payments that's called Purchase Money. So this is what I'm doing. I've signed a partnership with some banks around and some companies, and we want to make people's life more easier, particularly the people who are in agriculture. That's another field as well.
Yeah, I'll talk about that in a minute. Yeah.
Yeah, in agriculture, they go and sell the product. They give them some millions, and then they are afraid. They're afraid of everyone around them because they've been in security. But if they are able to be paid digitally, hey, they can just walk around. I mean, they have no cash on them.
Yeah.
So these are ways that we are considering. But agriculture is also a big thing in here that needs to be considered.
Yeah. Even in Nigeria, I understand that only about 30% of the population is even banked. Let's not even start talking about digital banking. So the potential is huge in that field. It's huge. I want to talk about, like you mentioned, it's good that you mentioned agriculture, because I want to talk a little bit about that. A couple of weeks ago, we had Dr. Amibanjoku, I know both of you know him. We had him on the show, and he was talking about the work that he's doing in Rwanda, and it was so exciting to hear what he's been able to do in through Kavajuru farms in Rwanda. Agriculture is something I'm passionate about. I'm not a farmer, but I'm very passionate about it. One, because one of the things that economists are warning us about is on the horizon is a potential global food shortage. That's one. And I don't know if you've been watching Bill Gates, but that man, his father didn't raise no fool. So in America, he's currently the largest single owner of farmland in America. He has been very quietly been buying up farmland behind the scenes for the last 10 years. And he's now the single highest owner of farmland in America. Not everybody's happy about that, and I can understand. I can understand why. But the point is, the guy is an entrepreneur. He understands the market. He knows what he's doing now. We in Africa need to take note about things like that. Another reason why I'm passionate about this is because particularly Nigerian youth, we have got to get them away from this mentality of overnight success. This short-term mentality of making the quick buck. We got to get them away from that. And when I speak to the youth, I do a lot of training sessions in Nigeria. When I speak to them, they all want to be in oil and gas. They all want to be in oil and gas. They don't know anything about oil and gas, but they all want to be in oil and gas because they see it as an overnight success phenomenon for their life. And they don't look at things like agriculture. They don't see that, yes, it might take you longer to make it in agriculture, but it's more sustainable. It's more sustainable. So let's talk a little bit about agriculture. I know that today you had some experience with greenhouse farming. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, it was actually myself and Dr. Banjoko as well.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So, and since Oscar also knows Doctor, as I now know, the collaboration hopefully will continue. So yes, we went into greenhouse farming. Look, let's deal with just facts, or certainly facts as I see them. The amount of food that goes to waste post-harvest, certainly in Nigeria, is certainly as a minimum over 50%. So that in itself is screaming for some level of creativity, innovation, and just it's screaming loud to say there's a massive, everybody eats. So and fortunately, one of the other things that haven't been back for a while that we've been able to do, apart from going into farming and trying to process produce into modern trade supermarkets and also into converting them into things, juices and all that, there are several young folks who are now trying to do that. So to your point, yes, there are quite a lot who want the overnight success. But I've also been fortunate to meet some very young, smart kids. I saw a product yesterday called Loom, chocolate made in Nigeria. There's Luscious chocolate, there's Utterly Yum. There are tons of brands. And what we're also now trying to do, for those of us who are getting a bit on, we're trying to put an investment pack together where, we look at our expertise, we put a fund together, people who are putting their small change in, and we almost do not a private equity, but some sort of an investment with returns over 5 years, but not just giving money, but also mentoring to make sure that the money is used wisely and that there's some results. It's an investment at the end of the day. So we're also looking at that for people who are already in the food, beverage, and agricultural space. Huge amount of waste, huge opportunities. It is a sector that I've been in all my life. And what you can do with those is phenomenal because everybody's going to eat or drink something every day. Whether it's peanuts that you're talking about, processing it into peanut butter, exporting it. I had a demand last week for somebody who wanted to, not a demand, a request. Can I help them can they help export African foods to United Arab Emirates? And they just gave me a carte blanche. Just find fast-moving consumer goods because a lot of Africans have emigrated, but they can't get their food abroad as well.
Wow.
So that's another opportunity. You come here, you get into a small business, you help them scale up, and then you buy the products off them, and then you export. So the food space for me, the agri space, the whole value chain, it is probably, I would say, the biggest opportunity. Tech is doing well. But you can add tech to a Greek as well. You can add tech to anything. So I think for me it's an exciting area, and I'm sure next time I'm in Abidjan, I will catch up with Oscar, and we'll really try and do some other stuff locally across the markets.
Great. It's interesting that we're talking about collaboration here because, to be honest, there is no other way in which we're going to make it now. It's going to be connection, collaboration, community. That's my new catchphrase: connection, collaboration, community. That's the way we got to look at business now. Whether you are in Africa, whether you're in the UK, we got to connect. And move together as a formidable force if we're going to be taken seriously in the marketplace. That's the only way we can do it. So that your girl is not left out of the business. The investment opportunities. Don't forget me.
Don't worry about that. I can send you a group of investors. Send you a deck straight away today. So you talk about that there's a local brewery making craft beers in Lagos.
Right.
And they're doing absolutely phenomenal. And they're looking at fundraising, a Series A fundraise. And again, the ingredients are local, sorghum. So 60-70% of the ingredients are local. So that's what you get. These opportunities are here, and then so there you go. I won't forget, baby. I won't. When you were saying about the amount of waste, it's almost criminal. When I think about even something as simple as tomatoes. Mm-hmm. I remember seeing lorry loads of tomatoes wasting on the road, rotting. And you just think, man, can somebody not make this into paste? Because we actually import paste with all those tomatoes. We're importing paste. Are you kidding me? Sorry,
I was in Nigeria a few years ago with a friend, and he was telling me that some of his partners wanted to implant a factory to transform tomatoes. Mm-hmm. The reason why they didn't, I think they went ahead with the project, but then the factory was just left not running because there were not enough tomato production in Nigeria to make the factory fully functioning.
Wow.
Mm. Yeah. There were not enough production in Nigeria. We are in Ivory Coast. When you see Nigeria as a giant of Africa, you see that, there was not production. But you see the land that is not used.
Yeah.
It's the same. In Ivory Coast, we import onions. In Ivory Coast, you can eat your mango and throw that seed somewhere, come back few weeks, few months, and then you have a tree.
Yeah.
Everything grows in Africa, in this western part, everything grows. Yeah. And we have one African president going to see Putin to beg for seed.
Let's not even go there. An hour is not enough.
Fun do you have? Yes.
But there's this economist that I met, Bruno Roche. He was one of the member of the think tank for the G7.
Yeah. And
he said this. He said, everyone is worried about the economy, worried about recession, worried about economic crisis. And he said, God will protect what is his, what he created. Man will try to protect what he created. Pounds, dollars, yen, man created. So there will always be a crisis around it. But the land will never fail you. God created it. It will always produce. And we have it here in Africa.
Yeah.
We have it here. I think there's so much to do when it comes to production and most importantly to transform it. That's the biggest part of it. Not only we don't produce enough, but we lose 50% of the little that we have produced because there's no roads and there's no way to transform it nearby where it's been produced. So the opportunity in agriculture is huge, is massive. So I think that's an area that many people can consider.
Yeah. I was fortunate to listen to, there was a female farmer, the first Nigerian female farmer I've met, and I'm sure there are loads of them, but she was the first one I knew. But I was listening to her speak on the platform recently, and when she talked us through the opportunities, I was gobsmacked. Things like logistics, just like you've mentioned, logistics alone, keeping the products at a particular temperature, all that, icing facilities, all that you don't even think of when you think in relation to agriculture. The opportunities are endless. They really are endless. It's something for us to look at. Okay, now I wanted to ask, do you have, what do you think are the pitfalls of doing business in Africa today that people should look out for? If somebody's listening and they're thinking, you know what, I'm going to try it, I'm just going to try it. What do you think they should look out for or avoid or be aware of so that they don't come back with a horror story?
Well, I don't think it's peculiar to Africa. I think it's global. It's just, picking the right partners and the right people around you. But also, if I was then to make it, and that's globally, I think if I was then to make it specific to maybe, let me say Nigeria, because, I won't say Africa generally, I will say, just boots on the ground. That your feet has to be firmly on the ground, and I'm not talking in terms of having your head in the clouds. I'm talking about physical presence. I think the currency of trust still has, because of the level of poverty, currency of trust and integrity sometimes can be a challenge, but also you're going to have to kiss a lot of frogs before you find your prince. And there are plenty to kiss. There's 250 million people, so you will find. You will find the right person. It's just a bit of trial and error. So I think picking the right partners around you, but having a support structure. As I'm talking about the challenges, having a support structure of, maybe an advisory board or a team of people that have been there, done it, can kind of advise you, will make your learning curve a lot shorter. Because I think a lot of people go at it for the fear of, I don't want to share my idea with people. They may take the idea and run away, or just that whole trust factor. But if you surround yourself with some solid people, advising you as well, the opportunities, you will transform them into something good for you. Logistics is a challenge across board. So I normally say there are two challenges in Nigeria. One is, just finding the right people. The second thing is just around logistics, getting things and people and products from one place to the other at the right time, at the right quality, whatever industry you're working with. So, if it's in the biological industry, you need your cold chain to maintain temperatures of vaccines and samples. That can be a bit of a challenge because of power. So those are kind of the things that come to mind. But again, as the saying goes, if your goal is big enough, the facts don't count. Those are just obstacles. I think there's always a solution, as I say.
Yeah, Oscar.
Right. Yeah. What we can list a lot of these things, but before I start mentioning a few, I want to say that what we find as pitfalls here, obstacles, is actually a business opportunity for someone. For example, the first thing, to go along with Tunde is finding the right person. You have people that you call for interview, they have master's degree in this. When you start the interview, within the next 2 minutes, you are like, are you for real? They don't have any work experience at all. They don't even know what they've studied. You start an interview, within the next 2 minutes, you're like, no, there's no way. But you need people to work with. You need people that will know what they do, and then that you can trust. It's difficult to find. There's many. There are. It's not that there's no such people. There are, but it's difficult to find. So, for example, with Sonia, my wife, because she's a banker from background, but also a professional career development. So she created a consultancy firm. She selects people, properly selects them, trains them. So, for example, for some of the employees, instead of spending time trying to find those people, I get a consultant. So she found that niche, which is an obstacle for me to find someone that we can trust. So I put my trust in a company. The company knows they have to perform. Yeah. So they send me someone that will not perform to the level that I expect. Yeah. So in that way, we'll find a solution there, because trust me, it's difficult. And here particularly, they all know what to do. They know everything. Yeah, they know everything. Then you give them the job, they don't know. There's one guy in the assistant construction company, an engineer with over 10 years experience as an engineer in building and construction. We sent him on a mission because there was a new contract that we were to do for the Americans. He can't even write a report. You went for 3 weeks, just give me a report. He doesn't know how to write a report. Come on, 10 years you're an engineer, just write me a report so we know what's happening on the field, all the analysis and everything. I had to take him through, I mean, I don't know anything about construction, but I had to take him through, I mean, how to write that report for me. And the other thing is, people, I think integrity, Tunde mentioned it as well. People want to do their business in your business.
Yeah. I'm saying it. Yeah.
I mean, and it's not just in West Africa. In East Africa, we are selling this molecular biology product. The guy creates a company. He works for us. We pay him. He creates a company and then sells the product. Until I have to go there and notice, And the other thing is the system. I mean, if you don't know what people will tell you something, you understand it differently because you come from the western part. I mean, but what they're saying is what you understood is completely different from what they're actually saying. I mean, something that they can do for you in a day, it will take a week. Because they're waiting for you to do something or to say something that you don't know. You don't know what they're waiting for. So that is a real barrier, I would say, for us. So that's why it's important, like Tunde said, to have some connections, some people here who know. So when you come and you sit down with them, okay, this is the time. Oh, okay, no, let me go to that meeting. You stay behind. Trust me, it saves you time. And another thing is the system is slow. I mean, in Europe, we've had clients that we've never met physically, and you deal business. You send your invoice, no matter the amount, and they wire you the funds. Here, you send an email, they don't read. You have to call. You say you send an email. Oh, you send an email. Okay, but they want to see you physically. They want to sit down with you physically, put that business aside, and see who you are. And that's one thing as well. You can get some delay for really no reason. Something that you can do in an email. Someone asks you to send the company document. I mean, you can send it on email. No, they want to write a letter, you sign it, you stamp it, you make 2 copies, to their office, and then sign the second copy to say that they've received it, and you come back in the email.
I hear you. I'm laughing because I'm thinking of all the experiences I've had that ring so true of what you guys are saying. So the whole meeting thing is such a red herring for me because you know how far Lagos is from Abuja. I mean, you both know. So you have a guy in Abuja who says, "Oh, come to Abuja. We'll have a meeting." I remember the last time my husband was telling me he did this, and then he went to Abuja. The guy he was supposed to meet wasn't even in Abuja. Didn't say he wasn't in Abuja. He was talking to him on the phone. So he was talking as if to say he was in his office in Abuja. Only for him to get there and to discover the guy wasn't even in Abuja. And then he was on his way back. But being on his way back was still going to take like another 4 or 5 hours. And then when he finally got back, he decided he wasn't going to come to the office after all. So could my husband come and meet him somewhere? I mean, you just think, seriously? But just like they're saying, you got to get used to that kind of system because otherwise the frustration will kill you and it will stop you. It really will stop you. So you do have to understand what all that means. It's the same thing with proposals. I didn't understand that proposals are pretty much a red herring. When they say, "Oh, write a proposal," you kind of think that, okay, at least I've got my foot in the door. Doesn't mean nothing. So yeah, understanding the system is really, really important. Okay, guys, we're gonna wind up in a minute. I just want to quickly ask you a couple of things. Any regrets, Oscar? Any regrets?
No. I'm actually more excited, to be honest.
Today?
Yeah. Not at all. I should have done it earlier.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
and
guys, I hope you hear that.
The title of this is doing business in Africa. The time is now. It's actually now.
It's now.
No. Yeah. I will encourage everyone listening, being there. It's now. It really is now. It really, really is now. We felt it when we left. We left a year ago. It's now. Because after COVID, the UK were going to be hit, and it's happening. Yeah. Then you have Ukraine, and it's not finished. So the time really, it is now. It is now. Yeah.
Okay, Guys, so if you're listening and you wanted that extra nudge, you've been thinking about it and dilly-dallying and you needed that extra nudge, you've heard it from the guys now. The time is now. Don't wait. The time is now. Okay, today, tell us a little bit about Just Foods. Where can we find you?
Okay, we're on all the social media platforms. You find us as Just Food West Africa, but we have an office in Lagos, which is the head office, and then we have physical offices in Ghana, in Plateau, in Abidjan, and in Dakar. But we're also registered to do business in Cameroon, in Guinea, and in Sierra Leone. So our scope is around West Africa, principally. Our business is really around ice cream, everything to do with ice cream, but also we do equipment installation. So Burger King's entry into the market, all the equipment installation we did and servicing. So equipment providing, consulting for businesses in terms of the food space, the full agri value chain. So that's what we do. But you'll find us on all social media platforms, Just Food West Africa.
Okay. I noticed you didn't mention the cocktails, and that's all I'm waiting for. Anytime I think about
yes, we do. So the food beverage, so we do cocktails, mocktails. We do also, apart from cocktails and mocktail, ice cream is our biggest product. We have the first non-dairy ice cream, I believe, in West Africa, but I don't want to lay claim to that. So it's soya based. A lot of Africans have a lot of lactose intolerance. Product is called Just Delight. You'll find it in almost modern trade, but we're looking to get it to Ivory Coast in Ghana and Senegal, but we're working through that. Maybe production out of Ghana, which is closer, to come across. But yeah, so cocktails, mocktails, ice cream in a tub, but also ice cream powder. We've also created a local ice cream powder to reduce the cost of the price of the ice cream locally. So we have an imported one, but we have a locally blended product as well that we make and produce here locally. Yes.
Well done.
Thank you
well
for
done
that.
you. Well done.
Yeah.
Oscar?
Yeah, for me, well, besides the building part, which we do mainly with government and other institutions, is purchase money. Purchase money, it's mobile wallet.
Okay.
One thing with this mobile wallet is, for example, here in this country, if you want to send money to someone's bank account, if it's not the same bank, it will take you at least 3 days.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. With our wallet, you can get from bank A to the wallet, and then from our wallet to bank B, and it can be done instantly.
Wow.
So, yeah. So instead of 3 days, you can do it within the minute. Within a minute, and then you have the normal things: deposit, transfer of cash, and withdrawal. But most importantly, making American payment possible and being able to pay clients, like someone selling his cocoa or coffee, the producers, or tomatoes. It goes to the buyers, and the buyers will pay them on the wallet.
Wow.
So this is
well done you. Well done you. Talk about seeing a problem and solving it. Well done you. Yeah. Gentlemen, I can't thank you enough for your presence and your time. I know how busy you both are. On behalf of my listeners, I just want to say thank you. I'm so grateful to God that you guys have made a success of what you're doing. Thank you for sharing your tips and your advice.
Thank you.
And letting us know where we can find you on social media. That's great, so that those listening can do that if they want to. Tunde, I'm expecting that call, so you don't forget your girl. And and Oscar, when those government contracts start coming, I'm here. Don't leave me here. Don't leave me hanging, guys. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in again. I'm so grateful for your time. I'm going to be here again same time next week. As I always say, don't let life dictate to you. Rather put your signature on life. Go have a great week and make some money. Bye-bye.
We'll catch up with Tunde when he's in Abidjan.
Yeah, definitely. All right, take care. Bye-bye.
Okay.
Hi everyone, it's your girl Bebe Clement, the author of How to Go from Employee to Entrepreneur and the host of your weekly business show, Bebe Means Business, the show where we